everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 9 at Saratoga on Belmont Stakes Saturday. And this race kicks off with 50-cent pick 4, which leads into the anchor leg, of course, will be the Belmont. So the Jaipur is the grade 1, going 5.5 this year on the turf. And I think that's really a key distance. $500,000 is the purse. There are some very good sprinters in this race, but one is in extremely good form, and that is Cogburn for Steve Asmussen.
And he's made no mistakes so far since they turned him into a turf sprinter. It's just one good race after another and one fast race after another. And he's your morning line favorite, Dan, off of a really nice win. First back from the layoff on Derby Day a few weeks ago. I mean, he had a perfect trip in that race, but he also really ran.
There's speed in this race. I'm not sure there's a ton of it, though. Coppola has speed. I think No Name Mets, they tried to rate him last time out.
Yep.
I think this time they're not going to do that. He's got blinkers on. His best game is when he goes to the front. I think Frankie's going to boot him out there to the front, and there's a chance he's in the lead turning for home.
I agree with that. I mean, they got to get aggressive with him here. He's a horse he started out with some potential as a 2-year-old. He's got something to prove now, and I feel like the way that you find out how good he actually is, especially against a field like this one, you just send him and see what happens.
A horse that is hoping for some pace is the late-running Thin White Duke. The number 1 really has done well at Saratoga throughout his career, and you could argue he might have been compromised off the layoff and the elusive quality. Remember, that was a race where the favorite, who was expected to be the pace setter, just dwelt at the start, and Dancing Buck that ended up on the lead and wired them. Thin White Duke is a 1-run closer. The minute that pace setter missed the break, he was really up against it.
Yeah, he took the worst of it with all that stuff happening out of the gate. He still ran a pretty nice race, though, Dan. He was staying on towards the end there, making up ground on horses late in the game. It was a pretty good race off the layoff for this horse. He went 1 for 11 last year, but it was nothing but good race. Every single time that Dave Donk sent him out there to sprint on the grass, this horse showed up.
Arzak, the number 2, is rather underrated, even though he's won grade 2 races in 2 of his last 3 starts, including this effort, the Shakertown, in his one and only start this year, where he settled just off the lead. His tactical speed is very good. He makes the lead in the stretch. He beats 3 of the horses he'll be facing on Saturday. His only loss during the span of his last 4 was in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I think he ran a lot better than he looks. He's 4 wide all the way through the turn and into the stretch. He has a good look at it, and then he understandably flattens out. You give him the right setup, and from post 2 he might get it. He's going to fire.
I agree with you. I think that's kind of key, too, that what you just brought up there. The last 4 starts are all really good, and he was kind of an infuriating horse because you could tell that he had a lot of talent, but he just wouldn't always show up and run his A race. But lately, that's what he's been doing. Really good off the layoff last time. He'll be sitting just off the leaders in this race, and he's got a big burst of speed in him.
5.5's one of the questions for Dancing Buck, who took advantage when the speed missed the break and the elusive quality, went right to the front and beat 3 of these horses. It was another good effort for a horse that was very honest over in Southern California over the winter when Michelle Nevin transferred him to Richard Dutrow. I thought in the Joe Hernandez he ran fine. He got wired by Forbidden Kingdom. They ran 1-2 around the track. The San Simeon, another okay performance. Mucho de Oro, a little bit better than he looks on paper as well. Is he dressed up by his last race, and is this distance a little bit too short for him?
I don't think the distance should be any concern. This is a horse who's run really well at Saratoga in the past, so don't worry about it being too short for him. Yeah, is he dressed up off the last one? He kind of is, because he was the biggest beneficiary of the favorite missing the break. He still ran a really good race, though, and never really gave that field a chance. I just like that about him. I think the 5.5 is fine for this horse. If he doesn't make the lead, that's okay, too, because he doesn't need to be in front to run his race. There's a lot to like about this horse, and he might be a fair price in here.
Coppola won 2 stakes races over the winter down at Gulfstream, going 5/8 of a mile, and then they ran him in the Shakertown. It was kind of a wet turf course. Arzak beat him. I don't want to hold that race against him too much. Last time out in the turf sprint, he was part of the pace. He tired. The winner was better than he was.
Yeah, I mean, that was my takeaway of the race, too. I said that turf sprint last time, it didn't have a super fast pace, so I don't feel like that really worked against this horse, and ultimately, he just wasn't good enough against 3 horses who are in this race as well, and he's got to face them all again.
Big Invasion, the number 5, on his best day can win a race like this. He has run a lot of figures that make him tough. His current form is somewhat infuriating. His Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, I thought, was okay. He was steadied early into sort of a mid-pack trip down towards the inside, steadied again, turning into the stretch, and then he rallied late for second after following the winner. His 2 starts this year, I don't think were great.
They weren't. I mean, it's a big question with this horse now is, can he still run? He's prone to trouble anyway in his races, so you always have to take that in consideration. If he gets bet in here, he's a very good price on the morning line, so I'm not going to knock him. I've never been his biggest fan. He's way too trip dependent for me. His good race, though, is very, very good. Can he rebound, Dan? His last 2 races are not good.
Star of Mystery is one of 2 Charlie Appleby trainees owned by Godolphin. This is a horse that spent all of his winter at Dubai. He won 2 in a row. He was good second in a sprint. His last race is another throwout. He must have missed the break by 2 lengths. He tried to come with a run, and the winner, California Spangle, is one of Hong Kong's best turf sprinters. Came back, ran second in a Group 1. The third-place horse came back, ran third in a Group 2 in England. It was a good race. Can he break here? That's the key.
Her overall form's really, really good, and she's got to get out of the gate. It's been an issue for her in the past. A 3-year-old filly shipping over to run against hard-hitting older horses like this. It's not going to be easy. The talent seems like it's there.
No name Mets could be the speed in this race. Did some very good things as a 2-year-old last year. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, he couldn't get close to the pace. Kind of got bumped to leaving the gate and sat a pretty good trip and just didn't work out for him. In the Palisades, he kind of was involved in a little bit of a pace duel first off the layup. Didn't love the way he tired in the stretch.
Neither.
And then last time out in the William Walker, they tried to rate him. He didn't really finish with the same alacrity that he's shown sprinting, but he did get wired that day in a race that produced 2 next out dirt winners. Another situation of a 3-year-old facing older.
Yeah, 3-year-old facing older, but he's got a couple of races under his belt now. You sort of expect another forward move. He has gotten faster in his 2 races so far this year, so that's a good sign for him. I liked him as a 2-year-old then. I didn't think his Breeders' Cup was bad at all. I would like to see them get aggressive here and see what happens. He's 30-1 on the morning line. He's not untalented.
Cogburn's run 5 races on grass. He won 4 of them. The only loss came at Kentucky Downs, which is a very unconventional turf course, and he only got peaked less than a length that day. He ran great. His turf sprint at Churchill Downs, he caught a flyer from post position 13, immediately got up and on the pace with 2 other horses, put those horses away, and kept on going to win. It was a really sharp performance, and if he runs that race back, he's going to be real tough.
It's very true. I mean, I find it hard to knock this horse. You are talking about a horse who just won at 8-1, though. When he won up here last summer with a triple-digit buyer, he was 7-1. You're not getting those prices are gone. You're not getting those prices on him anymore. And just to play, devil's advocate a little bit about a horse who looks really good on paper, when he won up here last summer in Detroit, and he ran well, that was a bog of a turf course that he handled, and that maybe some other horses did not. And when he came off the layoff last time, what a soft trip that he had in there. There was no pace in that race. I think they're going faster this time. I mean, I'm not way against this horse, Dan, but I don't feel like I have to take, something less than 2-1 on this horse.
So Sua Summer took a stakes race at the fairgrounds over this distance 2 starts back when getting right up close to the pace and finishing strongly. They ran him in the Shakertown last time out. He didn't achieve that forward position, but I wonder if it was simply because they were too fast for him out of the gate and he was outrun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was. I don't know. I have real concerns about this horse. I think the one thing that I keep coming back to is he really likes it up here. This 5.5 turf sprints up here at Saratoga. This is what this horse really likes. You're going to see a trouble comment for his most recent start there, Dan. I don't know if you agree with this or not. To me, he only got in trouble because he was all done. Everybody was passing him, and he got in tight there. He wasn't winning that race.
I agree with you. I think he's just going to have to do a lot better and prove he's a graded stakes caliber turf sprinter.
Right.
I think Allegon's a sleeper in this race for Ned Aller. I know he really hasn't run a lot of fast races on his page, but I think his last race was a good fitness builder. The elusive quality, his first race off the layoff. Again, that was the race where the favorite missed the break. He got wired. He tried to come with a nice wide move on the turn, and he flattened out almost as if he needed the race. Now he has that race under his belt, and give him pace, he'll kick.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's an interesting horse in here for a really underrated trainer, too. All the excuses that you laid out for the most recent start are true. You go back to his final start last year, he really had no chance with nothing better wiring that field, but he's making up ground at the end. The turf start prior to that, Dan, he's a 99 buyer beaten ahead by Nobles. I mean, if he runs that race back, he's a handful in here.
Philo D'Ariano's been nursed through all sorts of physical ailments by Mark Cassie, who's done a wonderful job with this horse. It's his 3rd start of the form cycle. He was second to Cogburn last time out on the turf sprint. All in all, I thought the trip worked out for him.
I did too. I just thought he got the right trip in there. He did his best with it, and he was only second best in that spot. Can he do better? I think that he probably can. I don't love him in this race. He's got post 11, which is really no bargain. We'll see if he works out the right kind of a trip. I'm not a huge fan, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ran well.
I talked to Mark earlier in the week, and he kind of feels he's a 7/8 of a mile horse who's run well at 5.5, and he deserves a shot because there are very few spots to run these horses. I think Philo Yarn is going to need the right trip and setup, though, to fire at 5.5. But he's honest. Mischief Magic is the other Appleby. He's listed as a first-time gelding in RPPs. He is not a first-time gelding. No. He has raced as a gelding for a long time now. He was 3rd in the turf sprint last time out at Churchill. He's a horse that just doesn't have a lot of early speed. And in a race race like this, a full field where it's over in the blink of an eye, boy, he's got to have a lot of things go his way.
It's a real issue. I mean, we'll see if he's going to be, especially with post 12 factored in too. I mean, he's going to need the right trip in this race. I think the good things about him are this, Dan. He's very well connected, obviously. He's got talent. His good race gives him a real chance in here. He should catch some pace to run at this time because he didn't catch it last time. And I still think he ran really well. I really liked his effort 2 starts back in the Shaker Town too. And 2-1. 2-1. He's not going to be the favorite this time. I will wait and see what kind of prices. I like him in here, and I think he can go with these horses if he gets the right trip. But I want to wait and see what kind of price he is.
How competitive is this race? I think all 4 of the also eligibles have a chance if they get in.
Yeah, they do. It's unfortunate that for Groom's All Business that he's the first day. He was really good last time.
Really good last time at Pimlico. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Jaipur, going 5.5 this year at the Spa. Where you headed?
I'm hoping the morning line is close to right here, Dan. I'm going to give Mischief Magic a shot in here to catch the right trip and run in this race. I wasn't way against the 2 favorites in here, but I didn't feel like I had to settle for those 2 horses, and I will have Thin White Duke, the #1 on my tickets.
This is a spread race for me. I'm probably using all 4 of my picks in all sorts of multiple race wagers. I wonder how fast this pace is going to be. I do think No Name Mets gets to the front. I think Dancing Buck can stay within range.
I do too.
Even cutting back to 5.5. And I do think even though he won last time out with a good figure and he did have the best of it, it's going to be a good price in this race.
I like that pick.
So I'm going to give him one more chance. In the Jaipur at Saratoga on Belmont Stakes Saturday. Good luck.